So Ansible is also a tool which implements the concept of IAC, infrastructure as a code tool. Right? We have already learned one tool under this category, which is Terraform, which which implements this IAC, infrastructure as a code tool. Ansible also follows the same. Ansible also implements the same. We write the code to manage the infrastructure, to configure the infrastructure, but Ansible is called configuration management tool. It's more into configuring your infrastructure rather than provisioning. Like again, I'm saying, you may ask me, can't we create infrastructure with Ansible? You can. Before Terraform, Terraform is a new tool when compared with Ansible and all. First, the oldest tool in this category is, okay, first let me list the tools in this category. Like when you talk about configuration management tools, you have Puppet, Chef, Salt, and Ansible. Okay, Puppet is the oldest one, okay, in the industry. It's very old, it's quite mature tool, it's very great. But setting up Puppet, managing Puppet servers, Puppet master, it follows master-slave architecture, right? I used to work in Puppet, but now I'm not using it. I don't remember much, but yeah, it uses master-slave concept. You have to, this setup itself will take time. Connecting this slaves to the master, this will take some time. We'll be connecting it through certificates, I believe, SL certificates. Anyway, yeah, setup is complex, which will take time. Also, debugging, troubleshooting Puppet would be a bit complex. Also, Puppet code would be written in Puppet DSL, Puppet domain-specific language, which is Ruby-based. So it has its own pros and cons, but it's very efficient in managing huge infrastructure, dynamic infrastructure as well. Then Chef, we have Chef is also similar. And by the way, each configuration management tool has some configuration. Puppet uses full configuration. Means, see, you have a Puppet master. Then you have Puppet slave machines. Slave machines are the target machines which you have to automate. Always the slaves have to connect to this master and they will pull the configurations. Means, Puppet master application will be running here. Puppet agent software will be running on all the slaves. Means if you have 100 target machines, 100 slaves, on every slave machine, you will be installing Puppet agent. Imagine how difficult it would be to install this software on all 100 servers, which are your target machines, which are the machines you have to automate. We are setting this automation, but even this automation to work, you have to install this on 100 machines. We use Puppet to install some package on 100 machines, but to set up this Puppet itself, we need this. So there people used to use some shell scripts, Python scripts to do this automation because on 100 servers, they have to install Puppet agent. They again need some shell scripts, even though they're going for configuration management. Some pros and cons were there for every tool. So that's how Puppet setup is a bit complex. Also time-taking setup. Yeah, but like I said, it's very efficient and it's quite old tool. Puppet was used very widely. Then came other tools, Chef, and also, like I said, it uses full configuration. Slaves will pull the configuration from the master once they were connected. Every slave will connect to the master, pull their configuration, right? But then Chef also follows the same pull. Then came Ansible. Ansible came last, I believe, in this configuration management toolset. And Ansible implements push configuration. Setup is very easy with Ansible. You can set up Ansible very easily, very quickly. It's very efficient. They connect via SSH protocol, secure shell protocol. So it was been very simple, and even though it's very lightweight, simple, easy to set up, also Ansible code is written in YAML, which is very easy to understand and very easy to use. Yeah, it was new then, but now Ansible picked up, and Ansible is the one which is more widely used. We were not going to Puppet these days. We were all preferring Ansible, right, which implements push configuration. So these are all configuration management tools. But then Terraform came in. Terraform is more recent when compared with any other tools. Puppet is, Terraform is very latest one. Once Terraform came in, Terraform is being used for provisioning the infrastructure. Till then, how did we create the infrastructure? Using Ansible or Puppet, that's how they configured the infrastructure. Also, we use these tools to create the infrastructure. But once Terraform came in a couple of years back, maybe 3 or 4 years. So Terraform is great in provisioning. We were using Terraform, a dedicated tool to provision the infrastructure, then Ansible to configure the infrastructure. So if someone asks, do you go with Terraform or Ansible, which one to use, which one is best? I would say a combination would be the best. That's how we were using in our project and majority of other projects as well. Right? A combination will do.
Preethi, before Ansible came into picture, okay, so how was provisioning being done while Puppet
So
was
other
being
configuration management tools, Puppet, Chef, Salt. At that
okay,
time, configuration management tools were doing everything. Configuration
okay,
management means provisioning as well as configuring.
okay,
Of course, they were using Puppet and all. They were facing challenges or difficulties in setup and all. When Ansible came in, everything moved to Ansible. We were using Ansible to provision and configure. But then when came in, it is great in provisioning. So Terraform is being used dedicatedly for configuring and provisioning and managing your infrastructure. Ansible
okay,
for configuring,
configuring.
right? So this is about the history of the tools. And yeah, Terraform, if you say like it's written in HCL, it's a uses declarative language. It's very great in provisioning the infrastructure. You can manage your entire infrastructure, any huge infrastructure with Terraform. Okay, fine. Terraform has created it. Let's say Terraform has created 100 servers. I want to install a package like HTTP or a Docker on them. I want to run Docker containers means Docker should be installed. Yesterday we did that using user data, if you remember, right? But user data is not efficient, like I mentioned already. User data will give control, means using this user data attribute, Terraform is giving control to the cloud provider. So whether the code is, whether that script is successful or what may happen, Terraform will not have control or an idea or a clue about what happened to it. It doesn't have any clue on the status of it. It's not great. User data can be done. Maybe if you want to do something quickly, but to have a better control, configuration management tool is required. That's where Ansible comes in. So what is configuration management? Like we were talking about, you may have 100 servers, you want to configure something. So mass configurations, or else let's say I want to deploy this WAR file on all 100 servers, or else I want to deploy Docker containers on all the 100 servers. So mass deployments or mass configuration. See, if you don't use configuration management tool, let's say Terraform has provision. If you have to go with each server and do this configurations or deployments, it would be time consuming, lot of effort, obviously error prone because it's all done manually, right? So a lot of people, lot of resources, more resources should be worked. But now with the configuration management tool, it can be done in 2 minutes. Of course, writing the code may take initially some time. Once the Ansible code is ready, you can just use it to configure it. So mass configurations, mass deployments, basically having a control on the entire infrastructure is very important, which is called configuration management. Control means out of this 100 servers, right? I should know which software is present or which package is present on what server, right? Which version is present on what server? What are the complete details of that particular infrastructure? Means you have to have a better control on the infrastructure to manage it, which is possible through these configuration management tools. Particularly Ansible is the winner in this category. Right now, Ansible is the one which comes as a first choice or a first option. Again, it is very simple and interesting, right? This is very interesting tool. You can do lot many things. Earlier, there are separate admins or operations team to do this, but now DevOps team can handle it effectively using Ansible. So what is Ansible? It's basically a Python-based application, means it's developed in Python and it's a product from Red Hat. It's an open source IT configuration management, deployment, and orchestration tool. Orchestration tool means you can decide which task should be done first, next which task. All such control is there with Ansible, which aims to provide large productivity gains to a wide variety of automation challenges. This uses push configuration. Okay, like what is meant by that, we'll see in detail. See, If you look into this, your infrastructure means your servers you need to automate, maybe on-prem servers like on your own data center, or they may be on cloud, or they may be virtual machines, whatever it is. You write some configuration management code, and this code will automate the infrastructure. See, IAC enables automation of IT tasks by provisioning the code rather than manually handling each phase. You don't go and install the packages and all, you will use infrastructure as code. It bridges the environmental differences ops teams encounter every time they had to deploy the new code, right? So there would be different teams or different environments which they need to configure. This configuration management tool can help implementing. Earlier, before configuration management tools also, right, some way back, they used to use some shell scripts. Of course, there might be projects still using it. Shell script, writing a shell script to automate the infrastructure would be having a lot of challenges.
There was one tool called as SCCM packaging. I think even it had similar features, right? Preethi,
Maybe there
if
were
you
so
remember
many
right.
configuration management tools. The
Yeah.
particular tool, I don't have idea. But yeah, so many configuration management tools. But these were famous and more widely used ones. So they used to write shell script to manage the infrastructure. Shell script would be very complex. If someone else writes the shell script in the team, it will be very difficult to understand. Others have to understand that after some longer time. Also, shell script should be written from the scratch, right? Means you should define what is the package, what is the file, like everything should be defined and written from the scratch, right? Also, let's suppose, okay, I have written some script. This script may be working for automating Linux servers, but how to automate Windows servers? Maybe you have to write some another script for it, right? So, yeah, they are complex. They have to be written from scratch. The script written may work for some infrastructure, may not be working for another infrastructure, another type or another set of infrastructure. So you have to keep modifying or keep working on it. When you compare it with configuration management tool script, any configuration management tool script, of course, this is an example from Puppet. See, majority of the code you can easily understand, right? Easy to understand by just looking into it. See, you can make some sense. It makes some sense, right? User Spock is created, ensure is present with the group ID, home directory, shell command. It's human readable or else easy to understand, and you need not write from scratch. Already the templates formats will be there. Okay, you don't need to write line by line and configure it line by line. Right. Also, the script, let's say I have written some configuration management tool script. Let's say it's automating Linux servers. The same script can be used to automate Windows servers as well, right? Though that feature is available with all configuration management tools. So these are some of the differences between shell script and using configuration management tools. And once shell script, once configuration management tools came in, shell scripts became obsolete. Means we were using them to automate small things here and there, but they were not being used as a full-fledged tool or full-fledged automation criteria, right? So shell scripts were limited now to do some routine tasks or to do some routine kind of automation, but not a complete tool. Configuration management tools were the option now. Yeah, what is this push configuration? Now let's understand how Ansible works. See, we will have Ansible installed on one dedicated server. That particular server will be called as Ansible controller machine. Okay. Now, let's say I have 100 servers I need to automate. You don't need to install any Ansible clients or Ansible agents here, unlike you do it in Puppet, right? You don't need to do it. So that's why it's called agentless. You don't need to install any agent software. Then how come they connect? They connect via SH, simple protocol, secure shell protocol. They are agentless, right? And it's very easy to set up. You just have to install Ansible on this machine and open SH connection with the targets. That's it. Now, agents will not, because it's agentless, you don't have any client software running on the target machines. So they need not pull the configurations, whereas your controller machine will push the configurations to the targets. Am I making sense?
Sorry, please, could you come back?
See, this is your controller machine, right? You don't install
Right.
any Ansible software here. No. Okay, nothing. So it's called agentless. But then how the configurations will be applied? This controller machine, your Ansible will push the configurations to all the targets. Targets will not pull them, whereas your controller machine will push the configurations. That's called push configuration. Got it now? That's the responsibility of the controller machine to push the configurations on the target. Whereas in Puppet, agents, target machines will pull the configurations from master. What is meant by pulling or pushing? What configurations it will pull or push, we'll see. But understand, controller machine will push the configurations for automation.
Controller and master are the same, right, Preethi, or they are different?
See, we call
Master
in
is only
Puppet,
called controller.
in
Okay.
Puppet, we call it as Puppet Master because it's a master-slave
Okay.
concept. Here, there is
Okay.
no master-slave
No
concept. Here,
master
we
slave
call it
concept.
as controller
Okay.
machine or
So we call
Ansible
it as
server simply.
okay.
Yeah, simply Ansible server or Ansible controller machine because we install Ansible on only one server. That is the one which is pushing configuration. Yeah, see here push versus pull. Some tools were there which implements pull. Some configuration managements use push. Particularly Ansible comes in here. Ansible, Salt. Okay, here Puppet, Chef. Means they'll have agents installed on all the target servers. Those agents from the target servers will pull the configuration. Whereas here, it's agentless. So Ansible server will push. So that's what it's saying. Push approach doesn't require agent setup on individual nodes like pull does. Pull works in a master-slave architecture, which requires agent setup on all slave nodes. Right. So push approach doesn't require agent setup. We don't need any agent setup. Pull works in a master slave architecture, which requires agent setup. We need to install agent on every machine, which is time taking until you start. So they will pull. So another thing is push based systems are completely synchronous. Meaning, let's suppose I'll run the Ansible code. Now, let's say now I'm running the Ansible code. Immediately configurations will be applied on the target. Whereas here, let's suppose I have written Puppet code. Agents have to pull, right? They have to pull them. When do agents pull? Agents pull at regular intervals. They pull at regular intervals. Default timing in Puppet is 30 minutes. Of course, you can change it to 5 minutes or so. So agents will pull the configurations every 30 minutes. Let's suppose you wrote the code now at 7 o'clock. It has pulled at, let's say, pull happened at 7 and you wrote the code now at, let's say, 7:05. Another pull will happen only at 7:30. Your code will be applied only at 7:30, not immediately at 7:05. Am I correct? Means changes are not applied immediately. Of course, you may change your run interval, but it depends on run interval, not when you write the code. Right? But whereas in Ansible, when you can write the code and run it immediately, changes will be pushed. Okay, so that's a difference. Because here code is not applied immediately, you may not see the errors or configuration changes immediately. It works with a pull interval. Of course, you can also remove the pull interval, but that's a default functionality. Changes here are synchronous. Whenever you run the code, immediately changes would be applied. You can troubleshoot if something goes wrong or not. So those are some of the differences. Any questions here? See, push, better control over the infrastructure. Pull, scaling the, let's suppose you have 100 servers. Tomorrow they want to scale up to 1000 servers. Pull is very effective there. Of course, push also can manage, but pull is great in such dynamically growing infrastructure. Push is easy to manage and set up. Pull configuration tools, complex to set up because you have to install agent on all the client machines. Changes made are synchronous. Changes are applied immediately, whereas changes are not synchronous with the pull configuration tools. Like changes will be applied depending on the pull interval. Right? And why Ansible when you have so many configuration management tools? Basically, it's agentless. Tool is
Preethi,
very
on that
simple.
previous slide,
Yeah.
can you please elaborate on the scaling infrastructure can be handled more effectively? The first point in the pull.
Like your infrastructure is 100 servers today, tomorrow they were going to scale up. Such infrastructure can be handled very well in Puppet or pull configuration management tools, because whenever a new tool is set up, you install the tool, you install the agent on that particular infrastructure, the new infrastructure, and they can add it easily into the existing configuration management tool setup. Push also does that, but pull configuration is more effective the way they were connected.
Okay.
And coming to Ansible, yes, it is agentless. The tool is very simple but very powerful to automate infrastructure of any level or any size. It can support scalable infrastructure as well. Puppet is more effective in scaling, it says, but Ansible also does it. But the way it connects when a new infrastructure is added, that's more effective or more efficient, but Ansible can also do it. Then comes the Ansible architecture. Before going into Ansible architecture, we can install Ansible. Then we can talk about these components. But let me give you few things here to make a note. See, this is your Ansible controller machine, means Ansible server. This Ansible server should be only Linux. You can't install Ansible server, means your Ansible on Windows. This should be Linux, and SSH should be installed. Of course, again, all the Linux systems will have SSH installed. Python should also be installed. Again, all the Linux operating systems, particularly the latest versions of Linux, will have Python installed. So these are the prerequisites. It should be a Linux machine. It should have Python. It should have SSH packages installed. Okay. And then coming to this part, these targets can be Linux or Windows also. Ansible can automate. But even if it is Windows, yeah, they'll be connecting via SSH should be there. Python should be there on both the machines. So even they will be there by default. But for Windows, they'll be connecting via WinRM, Windows Remote Package Manager. And Python will not be there by default. You have to install them. Okay. Yeah. So then we have to open an SSH connection with those target machines and configurations can be applied. So this is another reason we need to have Linux for DevOps. Definitely certain tools like Ansible, Puppet. The master or the controller machines need Linux. Ansible, Puppet, master machine or controller machines need Linux. Even Prometheus server should be on Linux. Even Nagios, many of the tools needs Linux. Even Docker, but now you have Docker for Windows, but initially it's basically developed for Linux. Even Kubernetes, but of course in Kubernetes you can have Windows nodes as well as worker nodes. But yeah, always Linux is more preferable. That's the reason, another reason for learning Linux as we discussed in the beginning. Okay. So coming back, Let's take some instance and install Linux and open an SSH connection, and we can talk about this. So this is a Linux controller machine. You can have any number of targets. For our lab, we shall have one Linux controller machine and one target. Okay, and we'll get started with it. And once this is installed, like once you install Ansible controller machine, open SSH connection with the target, we can start working with it. But before that, let me also explain this architecture. Anyway, we are on the same page. Whenever you install Ansible, right, you get few components installed on this machine. The first one is called modules, right? And then inventory. And we have Ansible config file and the playbook. These are the four major components which are installed when you install Ansible. Let's go through each component one by one. First one is a module. What is a module in Ansible? Yes. See, module is nothing but it's called as command center in Ansible. Command center means whatever you want to do in Ansible, you will call a module, right? Means let's say, okay, on this target machine, I want to install some package called HTTPD. You will call a module. Let's say on this server, I want to automate creation of user one. You will call another module. There are hundreds of modules available on Ansible. Whenever you install Ansible, you get all the modules installed by default on this machine, right? And yeah, you will be calling these modules to do any task. That's why they were called command center in Ansible, right? And strictly speaking, if you ask me what are these modules, see, these modules are nothing but Python modules or Python programs. See, you might have heard about, or else if you are into Python programming, you might have heard about Python modules, right? So these are nothing but Python modules developed by Ansible developers. Ansible is an application based on Python. There is a separate Ansible developer team. They will write or they will develop these modules. As an Ansible user, you will call those modules to automate your infrastructure. You don't need to learn Python or use Python for it. Just call those Python modules, which will automate that. That's all. Right? So to do anything, you will call a module. We'll go through those modules. Means you will not learn and understand the code in those modules. Just understand what each module does. Okay, that's the first component. Second thing is inventory. What is inventory? What is the dictionary meaning of the inventory? A list, right? A list or stock of items. Maybe you may have an inventory for your groceries or stationery, or else inventory. Here, inventory of our servers, of our target machine. Isn't it? You may have 1,000 servers. That's your inventory. So here there will be an inventory file called by default inventory file whenever you install Ansible in HC host, HC Ansible host. Okay, this is the default inventory file which will have the details of your infrastructure to be automated, like their IP address, their DNS name if you have anything, right? You'll have such inventory details. And you can also group your infrastructure, group those target machines depending on the type, let's say DB servers, web servers, or depending on the location, let's say some servers may be on AWS, some servers may be on GCP, or else depending on the environment, like some may be production servers, some of them may be dev servers. You can also group them, right? So all of this is called an inventory, which is very important. That's how we understand our target machines to be automated, correct? So that inventory will be there. I mean, the default file will be there where you have to add the details of your infrastructure to be automated. That is the second component. Third component is Ansible config file. There will be a file created by default when you install Ansible, which is called ansible.cfg, which will have all the details like the location of the inventory, the path of the modules, the path of the playbook, all the global settings we can say. All that information will be present in this ansible.cfg, right? So these are the three components. Before we go to the next component, any questions in this part? Okay, so these are the three components. Then comes the fourth component, which is important, very important, called playbook. Playbook is the component which we write, which we deal with it very regularly, very frequently. Playbook is nothing but the file with extension .yml. This is your Ansible playbook. Means it's nothing but a file with extension .yml. Ansible code is also written in YAML. Okay, this is called your playbook where you write your Ansible. Inside the playbook, you will have some plays. Plays means a set of tasks targeting a particular group of servers. And each play would be separated by 3 hyphens. This is, let's say, play 1, play 2. Let's say play 1 is targeting DB servers. Play 2 may be targeting web servers. Like we discussed, we can group the infrastructure. So first play may be targeting some group of servers. Second one may be targeting another group of servers, right? So play 1, play 2, like this, you can have any number of plays. And what is present inside the play? Inside the play, you will have a list of tasks. Like task 1 is install a package. Task 2 is start the service. Right? Task 3 is deploy something. Right? You may have set of tasks. So there will be a playbook. Playbook will have any number of tasks, plays. Each play can have any number of tasks. But how does a task execute in Ansible? Any task, if you want to execute, like we discussed, we'll call a module, right? Means task is calling a module, right? So playbook will have plays will have tasks, and each task will be executed by calling a respective module, which is called a command center in Ansible, right? And if you closely observe this playbook is interacting with a module. Playbook is also interacting with the inventory, right? Otherwise, how does it know what is a DB server group, what is a web server group? Means, coming back to this diagram, playbook works like a glue. See here, it is connecting with the inventory, with the modules, the path of the inventory, everything is available in Ansible config. So playbook is the important or the core component which is interacting with all other components to execute the task. These are the 4 components you have to understand. Any questions on these components from anyone? So like this, of course, you may have multiple playbooks which does different tasks. That's a different part. But playbook is one which will have a set of plays. Each play will have a set of tasks. Each task will be executed by calling a module. And also to perform the task, it should understand its inventory. So playbook also connects or interacts with the inventory.
Preethi, can you please repeat module once again?
Modules are the Python programs which you get by default when you install Ansible. So you call those modules to automate your infrastructure.
Okay.
Those are like Python modules, Python programs for your better understanding.
Okay.
So now that we understood different components, let's see how the process of execution works in Ansible. What is meant by this push? What is happening? Let's see. See, first, let's suppose you wrote the playbook. Okay, playbook is ready, which is written in YAML, and then you run the playbook. When you run the playbook, what happens at the back end? Write the playbook. And once it is ready, run the playbook. So what happens at the back end? Whenever you run the playbook, right? A playbook means it's calling the modules, right? Python programs, basically. So whenever you run the playbook at the back end, a little Python package will be created at the back end. Python package will be created, right? So, okay, fine, a Python package is created. And see, how does Ansible controller machine connect to targets? We'll open an SSH connection with the targets, right? With the Ansible host. You may call them as Ansible hosts or targets, whatever it is. So open an SSH connection with the targets, and via this SSH connection, the Python package created in the first step is copied to the host machine, is copied to the Ansible host or Ansible targets, right? Okay, fine, package is copied. Then what happens? And also, how is package created here? Because you have Python running on controller machine. Python should be there on controller machine and also on the target machines, as we discussed already. So using that Python package will be created when you run the playbook. And also this package is copied to the targets, and you have Python on targets also. So what happens? This Python package is executed on the targets, on the host or targets. Okay, once package is executed means configurations are applied on targets or host machines. Configurations are applied means yes, automation is done, that's all. Right, this is what is push configuration I'm talking about. Controller machine is pushing the configurations, means it doesn't mean that, let's say I want to install HTTPD server on target, means your controller machine is pushing or downloading HTTP. No, it copies that package. Package means the playbook. The playbook will download the package on the target machine. Am I making sense?
Yes, Preethi.
Your playbook will be downloading the package. It means you write the playbook such a way that it will download the package on the target. If I want some packages like a web server or Tomcat on target, I need not install them on my controller machine. On controller machine, you will not have any package except Ansible. Okay, only targets I want to automate, not the controller machine. So this is what is push configuration. So configurations are applied means yes, it is automated. Once automated, this Python package, which is copied to the target, will be deleted. Like safe housekeeping methods to clean up the server, that will be deleted. That's all. These are the steps that execute when you run the playbook at the backend. Go through it and let me know if you have any questions. I'm repeating once. Whenever you run the playbook means you are calling the modules. Modules are actually Python programs. So they'll create a Python package and it will open an SSH connection with the targets. I mean, package will not open. We have to open an SSH connection with the targets. So then this package will be copied to the targets. And once the package is copied, it will be executed there. Means configurations will be applied on the targets and the package will be deleted finally from the targets, keeping the system clean, like safe housekeeping method. Any more questions from anyone? Now that we understood the
And how are the
architecture
targets defined, Preethi? Like
in the inventory,
inventory, yeah, in the inventory, like okay, so
we have to
basically that
define.
is
We will
simple.
see that. Yeah, we will see
Okay,
hands-on.
okay,
We'll install Ansible. We'll see setting up our inventory. Of course, now we'll set up the inventory, but later on in real practice, inventory will be dynamic. Means whenever some servers are gone, new servers will be coming up. That's called dynamic inventory. How to handle this dynamic inventory also we will see. First, we'll
okay.
go with the static inventory. If you understood this, we'll go to the lab, set up Ansible, see the components, see the process of execution.
Sure.
Good to go. Any questions? All right. So that's about the architecture. And yeah, we can get started. Then comes ad hoc commands, we'll see, and the playbook. So let's begin. Now, yeah, let's have two machines. Let's not use this Jenkins server. Let's have another two machines. You can have any number of targets, at least one target is mandatory. So let's have a target machine. T2.micro. I'm using same key for both of them. Generally, you can have a separate key for each machine. Allow all traffic. That's all. And by the way, yeah, 2 instances. Okay, install Ansible. Let me name one as Ansible controller machine. I'll make it Ansible controller machine. Means we have to install Ansible here. Here we need not install anything. This is going to be Ansible host or target. Okay, let's go to the controller machine. Yeah, let's connect to this. So now let us install Ansible. You may install Ansible as a root user or EC2 user is also fine. I'm installing as a root EC2 user. Pip3, using pip we can install. Pip is a Python package manager. It will be there by default. So you can install Ansible using pip. So Ansible is installed successfully. Let's check the version. Okay, Ansible is installed successfully and yeah. So now that Ansible, we have got Ansible installed, let us open an SSH connection with the target machine. We don't need to do anything, or we don't need to install anything on the target machine, just open an SSH connection. So on this controller machine, like we were working as EC2 user. Now here as an EC2 user, you may have SSH folder, right? So here to open a connection, what we did is we have created a key file. Do you remember? Create the private key. Private key of what? Private key of the target machine. We already have the private key of the target machine, right? So we have already done this connection in the Jenkins part. So open this file. On the controller machine, I am placing the key of the target machine. Right. So as it has got the private key of the target machine, it can connect, right? But for it to connect, it need to have the Ansible inventory file ready. So let us also do that. This inventory file, this is the default inventory file, etc Ansible host. See, this is the one. You can create it any location. I'm creating here under etc Ansible. So what you have to do is put the private IP. See, these two machines have to connect. They were in the same AWS network and the same VPC, right? So here you have to put the private IP of your EC2 instance. Put the private IP of the EC2 instance, and the key file will be defined with an attribute called as Ansible SSH private key file, and the path of the key file. And the path of the key file is home EC2 user dot SSH ID RSA, right? And also with what user it's connecting. Ansible user is EC2 user, right? That's all. That's your inventory file. You can group them. Like, let's say I have so many other servers, I'll place them here, and you can give some group name. Group name can be defined with a square brackets. I'm giving the group as web servers group. So whatever you define under this group, under this block, will be come under the same group, right? Understood, everyone? Or else another best method is, let's suppose I have another IP. I would be writing this again, this variable private key file name and all. Rather, what you can do is, here you put the IP address. These can be put in the next block called web servers, VARs. Right? VARs means variables. So what are the variables? Private key file and the user. That's all. Now, if you have another server, you'll just put the IP. Don't need to repeat those variables. That's all. So those two servers belongs to web servers group. As of now, I have only one target. This will do. This is your inventory file. You can create this inventory file. Understood? Any questions? Can I save it? Okay. I'm editing this file as a EC2 user. So let me know one thing. Here, I'm trying to create the host file there. Let me try to create host file here itself. Host, or else let's say, you can create in the default path, or else here also Ansible inventory. Host. Okay. Right. Done. Inventory is ready now, and the group name is web servers group. Now, try to connect to it. Okay. SH as EC2 user @ private IP of this instance. Yes, to confirm. See, it says bad permissions on this file ID RSA. It is having more permissions. See here, it's required that your private keys are not accessible by others. If you see the permission, ls minus l ID RSA. See, others can read, write. Do you see that? Even this user can write. We should provide only read permissions for anyone. So only read permissions, ID RSA. Now try to do sh. Yes. I think, yeah, this 49 is the IP address of this instance. I got the connection. Done. Right? Connection is open. I want to go back to the controller machine. Yes. We see, I did not log into my target. Do you see that? I did not do any single step in the target machine. That's what it's agentless. You need not install any software, and we have opened SSH connection. To open SSH connection, you don't need to go to the targets. So done. Through Ansible, I want to see if Ansible can connect or not. Ansible minus M ping. What is ping? What is minus M? I'll tell you. Minus M ping. The target name is web servers. No inventory. Oh, yeah. See, whenever you are running this, you should pass the inventory with I flag. And where is the inventory? It's Ansible inventory host. See, it says fail to connect, no such identity in this path. What is wrong here? ID RSA is the file we need to pass. Home EC2 user.sh ID RSA. But it says no such file or directory, permission denied. Let me check once again. Let me check this host file. I was modifying this as sudo, but that should not be a problem. Private key file is home EC2 user. Maybe because I'm in the same path, I may also, that's not the cause of the error. I can also do this because I'm just working as, why it is saying read only? Because I have edited it as a root. Let me do one thing. I have created this file as a root user, which I would not have done. I'm removing this RM Ansible. Okay, I'm creating this again. Okay, let me check now. Connection failed to connect to the host via SS. No such identity. Home EC2 user. Ansible ID RSA. Oh, I think. Okay, variables should be defined this way. Yeah, see, it was considering the whole path, whole thing as a path. Yes, do you see that? Understood the error. See, because I have appended it in the same line, it was considering this whole as a path where the file is present. Okay, this is how your inventory file should be. Ansible. Right? So that's how the attributes should be listed one above the other. And now when you run this, yeah. See, it says it was trying to connect, means what this command does is you are passing the inventory file and minus M ping and the target group name means it will try to ping all the servers in this web servers group. There is one server and it is returning the status as success and the ping is sending the response form means Ansible could connect to it. We could SSH into the machine. Understood, everyone? Am I clear with this?
Yes, please.
And now, what is this minus M? M stands for modules. We have learned that there are hundreds of modules, right? Ping is one such module, means it's a Python module. To see all the Ansibles you got when you install Ansible, Ansible doc minus L. See, those are all, okay, these are all the modules. You can browse them through up and down arrow. You have the module. This is the module and the description of what it does. huge list. If you want to see only a particular module, let's say ping module I have used, if you want to see that module, Ansible Ansible doc ping. See, this module is present in this path: home, ECT user, site, Python packages, Ansible modules, ping.py. That's what I told you. Modules are Python programs. A read over, like manual, what it does. This test, a test on the targets, it will respond Pong means on successful contact. Some parameters, and it's developed by Ansible team. Ansible developers are there, separate team. See, it is developed by Ansible core team. Michael Dehan leads the team. Everything about the module, right? So if you go to this path, yes, you can see all of your modules. Let's go to modules directory. CD. How did you get that? When you install modules, you get all of them. They were categorized. Actually, they were not categorized here. Okay. Yeah, these are all modules, and yeah. See here, all the modules and also the inventory modules, I think they should be categorized. Okay, fine. Yeah, here are your modules. Let's go to modules directory. Yeah. Right? So you have so many modules which you can use. That's a ping module. So similarly, let's suppose I want to check the uptime of the server. Pass the inventory file, uptime of my target machines. Oh, sorry, I was in a different path. Here is my inventory. No, where is the inventory? See, I have created inventory in .sh, which is not correct. Move this to home directory. Oh, sorry. Move the file. It is no more. Okay. So this is the proper way. Now Ansible -i, the file name, and let's say I want to check the uptime of the servers. I can use a module called command module. Like ping, there's another module. When you call the module, you can also pass the arguments with -a flag, uptime of the server. Something gone wrong. Ansible target. Okay, see that arguments should be in double quotes. Still Ansible. Oh, see, target is missing. Web servers. Right? It can show you the server is up from 17 minutes and one user is there. Load average is 0. Got it, everyone? So command module. This is another module. If you want to see that module, Ansible doc command. So this is again present in modules directory. Command module takes the command name followed by a list of space delimited arguments. See, if you do up down arrow, you will see all the arguments. Right? That's what I have sent uptime. Uptime of the servers. Right? So these are the few things, and this is called ad hoc command. We did not write playbook, right? You can also do everything with this command line things. This is called ad hoc commands, means a single line commands which can help you the task. To install packages also you can use ad hoc. To install packages, you have a module called, this is a CentOS based systems. The module name itself is yum. And pass whatever package you want to install. You can also do this. That's all. Everything you can do from these ad hoc commands. But what is the advantage or what is the difference between using the ad hoc commands and using a playbook? See, ad hoc commands are single line commands which you run only once. Okay. And also, let's say I want to install a package and I want to start the service. I have to do one after the other, which is not bringing complete automation, right? But to do some things quickly, you want to do something quickly, you want to get some information of the targets very quickly, you may use these ad hoc commands. But if you have a set of tasks, you want to execute all of them one after the other in one go, you have to put them in a playbook. But whether you write a playbook or whether you do this where the backend is same, it was calling the module, it was creating a Python package, it will be copied to the host. But when you write it in a playbook, you can see those steps also clearly. Yeah. So suppose I want to install HTTPD. Now I am connecting to the target to see whether configurations are applied properly or not, to check whether HTTPD will be installed or not, to test our configurations. This is the Ansible target. Does it have HTTPD? Yeah, it doesn't have any HTTPD. Let us try installing it with this command. See, it gives an error. This task M has got extra parameters. Yeah, see, okay, let me first show you this module, Ansible doc, EM module. See, M installs, upgrades, downgrades, removes group with the M package manager. Your target is also CentOS based. So I'm using M package manager. It was showing you all these options. Few options are mandatory. Whenever you see equal to, that parameter argument is mandatory. These are all optional. It has got just hyphen. There will be some packages which are mandatory. This is mandatory actually. Name you have to provide. State is also mandatory. It was not showing equal to, but why is it saying it will show equal to? What it is saying? Options equal to is mandatory. I think options, some of the options might be mandatory in this list it was saying, and here it may show as a mandatory for those options. Anyway, okay, so you can pass few arguments to install the package. There is also another module called user module, which will automate creating the users. See, these are all different parameters, out of which you can pass the name attribute should be mandatory. Yeah, see, it was showing equal to. Okay, equal to means mandatory parameter. Name is mandatory. And what else is mandatory? That's all. Name of the user is mandatory to mention in the command. That's what it was said. Okay, let's first create the user. Okay, Ansible -i, Ansible inventory, -m user module, -a. So which is a mandatory? Name is mandatory. Let's suppose on this target, I want to create a user called John. John is not there, so let me create the user. Name is John. And also I would like to set some password to John, which is also John. And the target servers are web servers. This is an ad hoc command. You could have written playbook for this as well. But is this command clear for everyone? Can I run this? It failed. And when you read it, it says permission denied. See, I'm running as EC2 user. EC2 user cannot create the users. I mean, it doesn't have permissions, right? So to escalate the permissions means I want to run it as sudo user on the target. Add here become flag. Become means running this command by escalating the privileges as a root user. Now, yes, some change happened means User is created, password is set, and the home directory and so on. Just come here. Check the ID JUN. You should check as ID JUN, not simply JUN. See, you have got the user created. See, it may be a small task. You may think, why do we need Ansible for it? Imagine you have 100 servers. You need to install you need to create a user on all 100 machines, right? It can be done with this single command. This web servers may have 1 server or 100 servers or 1000 servers in the inventory file. Got it, all of you? This is your inventory. As of now, only 1 server, but here I may add huge list of servers. But this command is just the same. We will also try to put one more target tomorrow so that you can see like what is happening with each. So it will be really interesting. Okay, we shall try that out tomorrow. So that's about the ad hoc commands. Ad hoc command can do anything, any automation, but the effective way is using playbooks because playbooks can automate. It can provide you full-fledged automation with all the orchestration, like what steps to be done after what, all these kind of things we can do with the playbooks. So the same thing we will do tomorrow via playbook. Of course, we will do many other things on automation of installing, deployment, Docker containers, and so on. Any questions before we proceed to that part? So that is all for today from my end. We shall have a session tomorrow as well, like this we discussed before. Okay, tomorrow we shall automate the next part. Please make a note of it and make sure you are all available. Any other questions from your end? And by the way, tomorrow joining link will be different. I'll send it by tonight, the Zoom link for tomorrow's class.
Okay.
Any more questions from anyone? All right then. Thank you everyone. See you all tomorrow. Once done, just make sure to stop your instances. Thank you all.
Yes,
Bye everyone. Thank you.